What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Tanner Lorenz. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys how to fish the SFA like a pro. So if you guys want to know some tips and tricks, stay tuned to the video. So on this channel, a lot of you guys love watching my videos out in the bay, be catching big rays and sharks. I've never done this before, but I'm going to be showing you guys how I catch these big rays and sharks. What bait, what rod and reel to use, what spots to go to, the best timing to go. So first we're going to start off with what to use, the rod and reel. So let me show you the main rod and reel I use a lot. Here, this rod is 2-piece, so I have it wrapped up because the rod's too tall. This is a 12-foot ugly stick. It's a big water. It's a big water ugly stick, the full name. This rod was $75. I bought it at Bass Pro Shops. The rod works great for casting long distance. I love using this rod and reel off piers because usually when you're off a pier, you want to get out there as far as you can. I don't want to fish near the pier where everyone else is, so I'm trying to cast as far as I can. And what you need is a tall rod. I would recommend somewhere between 9-12 feet. Here's my reel. I got a Penn Battle 3 size 8000 spinning reel. This reel I love a lot. Alright, I was thinking of buying a Shimano Bait Runner D, which are still, I would recommend, a great reel, but I saw the Penn Battle. Number one, it was cheaper. Number two, looked more strong. This is an 8000, and what's so good about this reel is it's made of steel. It's super strong. The drag is insane. It goes up to 31 pounds of drag. Yeah, I've got it a little light here, but alright, let me show you guys the second rod I use. So in the bay, fishing off piers, you can use 2 rods on public piers, but on the shore you can only use 1. But every time when I go, I like bringing 2 because you never know, if one you're using, it could break, your rod snaps, your reel gets spooled by a big fish, or your reel's not working. Well, instead of going home with no fish or no limit, bring an extra rod. This rod I always bring. This is my favorite shore rod. This is a 9-foot Okuma Rockway. It's medium heavy. Now this rod is actually meant more for the surf, but it works good for the bay. The one problem with this rod is that you can't use much weight. It can go up from 1 to 3 ounces of weight. Okay, and this reel I actually love a lot. This is a Penn Fierce 3 size 4000 spinning reel, and what you guys can see right there is called a live liner. The Penn calls it a live liner, but I call it a bait runner, but you can call it whatever. This is the drag for the live liner. When you click it, drag is loose, but when you click it back up, when you reel, like this, like that, normal drag is on. This is what a lot of people use in the bay, because when they sit and wait with the bait in the water, these fish will take off and then your drag goes off. The Penn Battle doesn't have that, but if you want this at a good price, buy Penn Fierce. And now the line I got on here is 30-pound braid. Now for a reel somewhere between a 4,000 to 6,000, I would recommend 30-pound braid. 30-pound braid strong, you all. I've caught big fish on this. The biggest shark I ever caught was a 50.5 inch. It was caught using 30-pound braid. Awesome fight. The one problem with using heavy line is just, it's not really like fun to fly. The only thing you're doing is horsing them in, and it's just no fun like that way. But this rod I love using a lot for these big fish. But such as my Penn Battle too, and my ugly stick, I love it a lot. So now, if you guys know, in the bay, there are California halibut. Well, off piers, you usually these halibut like to hide under the pier or be in front of the pier in the pilings, because that's where they like to hide to wait for their prey. Well, a rod and reel I recommend would be like a baitcaster or deep sea reel here. This is a 7-foot ugly stick tiger. It's a medium heavy. I've been cast from like 2 to 6 ounces of weight. The reel is a Penn Squall. It's a size 20. I got 25-pound test. I would recommend 20, 25, 30 pound, 40 pound if you wanted mono or fluorocarbon. Yeah, so a lot of fishermen off piers, they have a cast net or a sabiki. They catch live bait, and what they do is having a long rig of 2 hooks. It's like a drop shot, and you hook it on and you just do a little flip off the end of the pier, and that's how you catch with halibut. That is what I would recommend to use. A reel that I would really recommend to use if you want a bait caster is a Shimano Tranx. Alright, Shimano Tranx is a reel I would recommend a lot. So next this video, I'm going to talk to you guys about what spots to go to. So in the entire San Francisco Bay, there on the bottom, don't be thinking there's sand unless you're in the Golden Gate, but it's all mud. Alright, if you guys ever go out to like where it's shallow and it's a low tide, it's crazy with mud. Where I live here, which is in San Mateo, when the tide's low, all the spots are usually unfishable besides Coyote Point, which I know is always fishable. It's just a problem, you'll have to go on the slippery rocks. Now one thing I want you guys to know, do not go fishing in the early morning when it's a low tide if fishing off the rocks, because if you do, you can get seriously hurt when you're slipping off the rocks. Alright, they're very slimy and wet because there's no sun up to dry it up. So I don't know if it's like a high tide coming in or when it's high tide, but off up here, you have no problem. But the spots I like to go to, Seal Point, it's in San Mateo. A lot of people go there to usually work out, like go for jogs, take the dogs or take their family out to like take pictures and all that. You see look at the entire bay. But how I found that spot was actually on Google Maps. The spot had a fishing sign on it, so I was like, okay, this is a cool fishing spot. I was gonna go, and the first time I went there, I caught some fish and I loved it. I ran my bike over, and it's awesome. But then this year, last video we caught skunk the oyster pier, but each one of those trips for the last video, we've caught tons of fish at oyster pier. One halibut, tons of rays, and tons of sharks. I haven't caught huge sharks at that pier this year, but I've caught some decent sized rays. I've caught some huge ones, all caught on squid, jack smelt, and anchovy, all dead bait. Oyster Pier is famous for its halibut fishing. A lot of fishermen love going there in the spring and summer for them, but you can catch them all year. I mean, the halibut I caught, which was back in October this year, it was caught off frozen bait. Halibut are there usually all year, but the hottest time of year is when it's between March to July. So if you guys want to catch halibut at Oyster Pier, go to that time. Alright, now here's one thing to let you guys know. Oyster Pier, the best spot is in the end. Alright, those route holes in the end. Alright, well, what I was saying about Oyster Pier is to go in the early mornings. When it's halibut season, people are going to be there at least at 5:30 morning. If you want the end, usually you got to be there until 6. Alright, there's times the first time I ever went to Oyster Pier, me and my friend were going around 7. It was Tuesday, it was during quarantine time, and we thought there was going to be like maybe 1 or 2 people there, or none. But when we looked at the pier, there were rods all over. It was like, dude, man, this pier. You know, one thing I actually just realized, I think Oyster is a small pier. You know, it's not as big as we've gone to Dumbarton Pier. But Oyster Pier, my favorite spot in the bay, alright? But there's other piers like Brisbane Pier. It's north from Oyster. It's like 5 minutes away. Then on the other side of there, you got Candlestick Point, Candlestick Pier. It's a great spot. I've caught some decent sized rays there. It's a good spot for halibut. All those piers that you said are good for halibut. One thing you can do, you can throw hammerheads on the bottom. People have caught halibut that way, and it's definitely much more fun while using lures than bait. So if I were you, if you wanted to catch halibut, I would have one rod for bait and one rod for lures. But now, if you want to catch big rays and sharks, all those piers work for them. The best bait I would recommend to use is rather shrimp, anchovies, sardines, mackerel, or anything. But the best bait I've caught them all most is squid. I buy squid out usually at West Marines, but I get it at an Asian market in Foster City. It's $14 for like 30 of them, so it's a good deal there. The pier, another pier that I know that works good, where I've caught some decent sized sharks and rays, is the Dumbarton Pier. The Dumbarton Pier is in Fremont on the each side of the bay or of the bridge. You go off the east side of the bridge, you take an exit when you see the next bridge, and then it takes you in there. The pier opens from sunset, or excuse me, from sunrise to sunset. Now the pier is like Oyster. That pier closes at like around 10 p.m. at night, but it says it opens at 6 a.m. but that doesn't happen because I was there once like at 5:15 in the morning and it was not closed. But Dumbarton, make sure to be there when it's sunset, 7 a.m. and it will sunset. There'll be a ranger or security that comes out and tells everyone to leave. That pier is pretty dirty though. I guess a lot of people are just dumb leaving the trash, but please guys, do not litter in the bay. Even though you're probably not going to care, there's tons of trash in the bay and it's pretty dirty. Yeah, my dad hates it. But anyway, now alright guys, so let me tell you guys about the rigs to use. So here, what I use to put all my tackle in is a bag right here. This is my dad's old bag actually, and I just took it because he needed to use it, but he doesn't care. I got my box in here with all my stuff, weights, hooks, swivels, bells, max string. Alright. So let me start with the hooks. The hooks I would recommend to use out in the bay are circle hooks, because when the fish eats the bait, it takes off, the fish is on. Leopard sharks and rays would usually sometimes want to spit it out. Whatever's on, they would shake their heads like a leopard shark. Rays would just usually take off, right? Rays will never let go of the bait. Usually you'll see the hooks digged inside if you're using like a J hook or an octopus hook, but for a circle hook, it would usually be on the outside of where it's supposed to be. That's circle hook's job. And one thing too, for a circle hook, do not set the hook, because when you set the hook, it'll usually pop out. So don't do that at all for circle hooks, guys. The size hooks I would recommend is from 4 to 7 size. 8, 9, 10 are a little big. I would go for that size because you can usually catch anything on those size hooks. 4 to 7, so that's what I recommend. Now the weights I would use, my two weights I like use now in the bay are spike weights and pyramid weights. The reason why is because in the bay, if there's current or you're anywhere, you want that break to stay on the bottom. You gotta spike that weight down into the mud so it just stays there. Alright, so pyramid weights, spike weights, you can get at the store or a tackle shop. Weight size, if you're at a pier with those current, I'd go from like 10 ounces of weight, 8 ounces of weight. But at a pier where it's like pretty shallow, not too deep, no current, go for like a 5 to 6 ounce weight. Next, the rigs I like to use out of the bay are fish finder rigs. A fish finder rig is you have let's say this is the braided line, and you have a leader. In the middle, what you tie is a snap swivel or swivel. You tie your knot from your leader like about 20 inches or so, and you have your main line. Well, first you put your slider and bead through. You have a bead between your swivel and slider because if you had the slider there and it kept sliding through and hitting the knot, then that knot will become weak and it will snap off eventually if you cast or if you have a big fish on. So make sure to do that. Now, there's one thing that you guys should know. I would recommend having heavier mainline than leader, because if you're ever snagged, the first thing that will snap off first is your leader. If you snap your mainline, you will lose everything. But if you're a leader, at least you'll get to keep some of that leader left. You'll have your swivel, slider, bead, and weight. So make sure to do that. But next, let's talk about the what stuff to bring to go fishing at a pier. So stay tuned. Alright, so I'm gonna show you guys what to bring and recommend. So I'm not having it all together, I'm just having it separate out. So always bring a hoop net when fishing, okay? This was 40 bucks from Bass Pro Shops. It's a good sized net. Yep. The reason why you want this hoop net to bring out up here is because if you had a huge wave of shark or whatever, you can't bring it up and say you're bringing the shark, but instead you get to use your hoop net and lift it up. Always have your rods, have a bucket. I have a cooler right there to use to put my food and drinks and my bait in. And I got my bag for my tackle. I got my chair to sit in. I wouldn't recommend sitting off of chairs at the pier because they're dirty. And if I have a wagon, I would recommend to use here to put all your stuff in, so it doesn't have to carry everything on your shoulder and arms and hands. So that's what I recommend. Alright, you guys, so that's good for the video. So I posted a thing online that I won't be fishing until February. Yes, I'm taking a huge break, but what I said on there is I'm not gonna be like posting no videos of fishing. I'm not gonna stop posting videos like this. If you guys want to hear more of any other fishing, comment down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for the next one.